There are moments when you meet a woman whose very presence changes the entire atmosphere. She walks in with confidence, her eyes bright, her smile magnetic. Everything about her radiates a kind of power that makes you believe something special is unfolding right in front of you. Yet beneath that brilliance, a small voice whispers inside you, a fleeting uneasiness, difficult to name, but strong enough to make you hesitate for a moment. Most men ignore it. They tell themselves they are being paranoid, that it is just nervousness, and in doing so, many pay the price with years of their lives and the breaking of their hearts. The danger is not in what she hides. The danger is in what you choose to deny. You paint a beautiful picture in your mind to cover the details that make you uncomfortable. You lull yourself into believing everything is perfect, but deep down, you already saw the signs. You just chose not to listen. When a man silences the uneasiness in his heart, he abandons his most powerful natural warning system. And once that warning is muted, illusion replaces reality. Intuition is like a compass. It doesn't give long explanation. It simply points the way. Ignore it, and you'll wander lost in the forest without even realizing it. Love works the same way. When you dismiss your intuition, you strip away the final layer of protection you have for yourself. You may be captivated by the light she radiates. But remember, light that shines too brightly can also blind your eyes. And once blinded by that glow, you can no longer tell what is true and what is merely a crafted image meant to enchant you. This is where the awakening lies. What you think is the beginning of love may only be the beginning of tragedy. How many relationships have started with overwhelming passion, only to end in heartbreak? How many times have you or someone you know said, "I should have seen it sooner"? The truth is, you did see it. You just chose silence over the voice within you. So ask yourself one question. When you stand before someone who makes your heart race but leaves your soul uneasy, are you choosing real love, or are you choosing an illusion wrapped in charm? Sign 1, too easy with intimacy. Many men believe they are lucky when they meet a woman who quickly becomes comfortable with intimacy. After only a few dates, sometimes even just a few hours, she is ready to lean in, touch you, and look at you with bold confidence. To most, this feels like a sign of trust, openness, or strong attraction. But in reality, intimacy that comes too quickly is often not genuine connection. It is a script repeated so many times that it has turned into habit. When intimacy arrives instantly, it rarely reflects true depth. Real closeness usually requires time, space, and silence for both hearts to process what is happening. There is a pause, a hesitation, a sense of weight that tells you something meaningful is taking place. When those pauses are missing, when there is no sense of rarity, intimacy feels less like chemistry and more like a performance rehearsed over and over again. Think of a lock that has been opened too many times. Eventually, it no longer secures anything. It just hangs there, useless. Intimacy works the same way. When it has been given too easily and too often, its original meaning fades away. What once carried emotional weight becomes little more than reflex. What you receive may not be a unique choice for you, but just another step in a well-practiced script. What is rare only has value because it is rare. The first kiss, the first touch, the first moment of vulnerability, these matter because they are preserved and protected. When they are treated as ordinary, they lose their significance. And when that weight disappears, the relationship you think you are building loses the sense of being special. Many men have made this mistake. They thought that the spark they felt was a sign of destiny. Yet often that so-called spark is not true connection at all. It is muscle memory gestures, words, and timing repeated so many times that they feel natural, but no longer carry soul. You are not the exception. You are simply the next person stepping into a role that has been played before. So ask yourself, if something that was meant to be rare has become routine, does it still hold its sacredness? If intimacy comes too fast, without hesitation, without the gravity of a special choice, does it carry the meaning you believe it does? Or is it just another scene in a story that has been told too many times? The reminder here is simple. Do not mistake instant comfort for true connection. A relationship with real strength is built on conscious choice, on moments that are preserved and cherished. Lose sight of this, and you may find yourself in something hollow from the very beginning. And when intimacy loses its weight, when sacredness no longer anchors the bond, something else usually takes its place. An emotional wall, cold, firm, unyielding, rises between you and the part of her you truly want to reach, and that is the next sign you need to see. Sign 2. Always hiding behind an emotional wall. There are women who make you feel close to them right from the start. They laugh often, tell engaging stories, even share a few memories that sound personal. You may believe you've truly stepped into her world, but if you pay attention, you'll realize what she shares only skims the surface. The deeper parts, the pain, the defining memories, all of it remains locked away behind an invisible wall. This is very different from healthy boundaries. Boundaries allow a relationship to grow safely, giving both people the time to build trust. An emotional wall, on the other hand, is a blockade. It is built not to protect love, but to prevent anyone from reaching her most vulnerable places. On the outside, she may appear open, but deep within, the door stays shut. You think you've entered the house, but in truth, you're only standing in the hallway, admiring the decor without ever touching the rooms that matter. In a relationship like this, you will find yourself giving far more than you receive. You share your past, express your dreams, reveal your deepest fears. She listens, smiles, and responds just enough to make you feel understood. But when you expect the same level of openness, you receive only vague answers or subtle redirections. The closer you try to get, the clearer the invisible distance becomes. This is not balance, it is a one-sided relationship. And a one-sided relationship quietly drains you. The reality is you are not loving a whole person. You are loving a wall. You are loving the reflection she chooses to show you, not her true self. And that is the awakening moment. What you thought was love may only be the illusion of closeness. So ask yourself, have you truly stepped into her world? Or are you just standing outside looking in, touching the layers she carefully puts up to keep you at a distance? If your answer leans toward the latter, you need to recognize that this relationship is consuming your energy rather than nurturing it. Because when true connection is missing, people inevitably seek it elsewhere. And in her case, she will often find that energy in the attention and validation of other men. And that is the next sign you need to be able to see. Sign 3, surrounded by too many male friends. There are certain women who always seem to have men around them. They might be co-workers, old classmates, neighbors, or people introduced with the familiar phrase, just a friend. You notice her phone never stops lighting up, messages constantly arriving from names you've never heard. Many of her stories somehow involve a male friend. At first, it's easy to believe this is simply openness in social interaction. But the more you observe, the clearer it becomes that this circle is not so simple. It is a constant source of validation and attention, a kind of energy that keeps her feeling at the center of everything. A woman who is secure in herself will naturally have both male and female friends, relationships built on balance and genuine connection. But when her list of male friends grows overwhelmingly large, it often serves a different purpose. Behind it lies the need for validation, the craving to maintain a constant sense of being desired. Each glance, each message, each casual conversation becomes like a drop of medicine feeding her ego. A person who needs many satellites to shine will never truly see one star as her center. When she is surrounded by too many men, your place as special inevitably fades. You may believe you are the one she chose, but in truth, you may simply be part of a larger orbit she has built to ensure the spotlight never disappears. And here is where many men wake up. Those male friends are not harmless. They are more like a backup list. In the present, they may stand under the label of friends, but in her subconscious, they remain as doors never fully closed. If a relationship ends, she doesn't need to start over. With one small shift, that list becomes her next set of options. In this situation, you never truly have peace. You are caught in a silent competition no one talks about. Each late-night message, each unexpected call, each reassurance of he's just a friend reminds you that others are waiting at the edges, ready to step in. Love struggles to feel whole when the shadows of others are always present in your story together. So consider this carefully. If she only feels alive when surrounded by a crowd, can one man ever truly be enough for her? And if attention has already become her fuel, intimacy can easily turn into a bargaining tool, and that is the next sign you must learn to see. Sign 4. Using intimacy as a bargaining tool. In a healthy relationship, intimacy flows naturally. It is an expression of love, of connection, of vulnerability freely given. But some women do not use intimacy to nurture love. Instead, they turn it into a tool for negotiation. When you please her, you are rewarded with affection, tenderness, and closeness. But when you upset her, intimacy vanishes instantly, withheld as a silent form of punishment. In this dynamic, intimacy no longer represents connection. It becomes a means of control. After an argument, instead of addressing the issue honestly, she may use physical closeness to cover it up. A touch, a kiss, a passionate night, and you convince yourself everything is fine. But the truth is, nothing has been resolved. The sweetness only masks the problem. The peace you feel is temporary, and beneath it, the cracks remain. When love is reduced to a transaction, you are no longer a partner, you are a customer. And the price you pay is not money, but your emotions, your concessions, your willingness to abandon your boundaries. She knows you crave intimacy, and she leverages that desire to hold power over you. Each time you bend in order to regain closeness, you hand her control. This creates a dangerous cycle. The more you try to keep harmony, the deeper you sink. Because intimacy has lost its sacred meaning. It is now nothing more than a bargaining chip. A hug is no longer about comfort. It becomes a method of control. And that is the awakening many men need to face. Not every touch is an expression of love. Sometimes it is a strategy. So ask yourself this: if intimacy always arrives at the moment she needs you to surrender, is it truly love? Or is it manipulation wrapped in the disguise of affection? If every embrace is meant to make you forget the truth rather than face it, are you willing to keep paying the emotional price for such a love? In relationships like these, men often find themselves drained without even realizing it. They believe intimacy proves love still exists. But in reality, they are being guided to give up their principles, their boundaries, even their own value. Each compromise chips away at their sense of self. And for this form of control to work effectively, she needs more than just intimacy. She needs the ability to read men, to sense their weaknesses, their desires, their hidden voids. That is the next step in the game and the next sign you must learn to recognize. Sign 5. Reading men to control them. There are women who possess a remarkable ability to observe. They notice how you move, the way you speak, the things that make you smile, and even the details that bring you down. At a natural level, this is empathy, a way to connect and deepen love. But there is a thin line between understanding a man to love him and analyzing him like an equation in order to exploit his emotional weaknesses. The difference lies in intent. A woman who truly wants to walk beside you observes in order to cherish and share. But a woman who has cycled through many short-term relationships often develops something else. Her observation shifts from compassion to calculation. Like a researcher running experiments, she has gathered experiences from many different men, and now she knows exactly where to press to create the response she wants. You call it harmony, that sense of finding a soulmate. But look closer. You may not be experiencing true connection at all. What you feel could simply be a mirror reflecting your weaknesses back at you. She knows what makes you proud, what makes you insecure. She knows when to praise you, when to fall silent, when to withdraw her warmth just enough to make you chase it. Caught in this cycle, you don't realize you are being conditioned. You think she sees the real you, but in truth, she is probing the wounds you haven't healed. What you call being understood may be nothing more than sophisticated manipulation. You are not in love. You are being played to the rhythm of someone else's music. This is why so many men feel addicted to volatile relationships. When they are lifted up, they feel like heroes. When they are pulled down, they crave affirmation from the very person who hurt them. The highs and lows alternate, and they mistake this cycle for passion. But it is not passion. It is a loop of control. Stop and ask yourself, are you truly being loved, or are you simply playing a role in a script that has already been written? A script where every word, every gesture, every silence is designed to push you into reacting exactly as she intends. Once you see this clearly, the danger becomes obvious. Love cannot exist in calculation. Real love requires honesty. It requires two people stepping into the unknown together, not one writing the script and the other performing the lines. And when manipulation becomes routine, even the most intimate memories, moments that should be sacred, are reduced to casual stories told without reverence. The sacredness disappears, and what remains is not love, but a game of power. And that leads directly to the next sign. Sign 6, sharing the past too casually. There are conversations that catch you off guard. She doesn't hesitate to talk about her exes, about private experiences, even details you would expect her to keep for herself. At first, you might mistake this for openness, a sign of honesty and transparency. But the more you listen, the clearer it becomes that these stories are told with a tone that feels too casual, too practiced, as if she's talking about a weekend trip rather than something deeply tied to her heart. When private experiences are revealed too easily, they lose their weight. Something that should have been protected and carefully chosen to share turns into nothing more than an anecdote to fill the silence. What was meant to be sacred now feels ordinary. Think of a rare gemstone displayed everywhere, touched by everyone. At first it may draw admiration, but over time its beauty begins to fade into the mundane. What is rare only holds value when it is kept and preserved. Intimacy and the deep memories of love work the same way. When they are retold again and again like common stories, they lose their sacredness. A woman who treats her past with little discretion often carries that same habit into the present. If she can so easily reveal the details of old relationships, what guarantees that one day the story of you and her won't also be shared with others? Privacy and trust, the foundation of love, become fragile. This is the moment to awaken. Openness is not always the same as honesty. Sometimes it is a sign that what was once sacred has lost its value, repeated so often that it no longer holds any special meaning. And you must ask yourself, if her past is nothing more than a long list retold like a series of anecdotes, how can you be sure you won't just become the next item on that list? If intimacy is treated as casual, how certain can you be that your present will be protected and cherished? A wise man understands that discretion is not dishonesty. It is respect for oneself, for one's partner, and for the sacredness of love. Those who dismiss this truth rarely sustain lasting relationships. And that is why relationships like these often burn out quickly and fall apart, which leads directly to the next sign, the craving for constant novelty. Sign 7, always chasing novelty. Some relationships begin like a blazing fire. Everything moves too fast. The passion sweeps you up into a whirlwind of emotions, and you convince yourself this must be true love. But just as quickly as it started, the fire burns out. A familiar cycle repeats, it ignites fast, and it collapses just as fast. Looking back, you realize you were only another chapter in a string of intense beginnings that ended just as abruptly. A woman addicted to novelty is not really leaving you. She is leaving stillness. For her, the calm after the storm of passion is not the foundation of love, but a sign of boredom. When conversations slow down, when messages stop flooding in, when the heartbeat no longer races, she feels something is missing. And instead of staying to nurture the relationship into deeper stability, she leaves to chase the thrill of a new beginning somewhere else. This is not love. It is emotional addiction. Like someone dependent on a drug, she constantly seeks new highs to fill the emptiness inside. When the rush fades, instead of embracing the deeper stage of commitment, she searches for her next dose. You can never win against that addiction, because it isn't a contest between you and another man. It's a contest between you and her endless craving for the new. Here lies the awakening. You didn't lose because you weren't good enough. You lost because you can't compete with an addiction. You didn't lose to another man. You lost to her dependence on novelty. And now comes the question you must face. If she has never stayed to fight for love, never learned to endure through the challenges that deepen connection, why would she begin with you? You may believe you will be the exception, but the reality is, you are stepping into a cycle that existed long before you arrived. The lesson is clear. Do not confuse early intensity with true love. Real love is proven not in the explosions of passion, but in the quiet days that follow. It is shown when two people still choose to stay, even after the initial spark fades. A woman addicted to novelty will never do that, because she is not searching for connection. She is searching for excitement. And when you piece together all 7 signs, the fragments form a single picture. What once seemed scattered now reveals a pattern, exposing the truth behind the charm. And that is the moment you must look at the whole landscape and recognize exactly where you stand. The truth behind the 7 signs. When you look at each sign by itself, it may seem like nothing more than a small flaw, a minor detail that doesn't really matter. But when you put them all together, the picture changes. What first looked fragmented suddenly reveals itself as a clear and consistent pattern. And the unsettling truth is that this pattern is not random. It is the product of years of repetition, choices made over and over until it forms a way of life. A woman may rush into intimacy. She may hide behind emotional walls. She may surround herself with male friends, use intimacy as a bargaining tool, read men to manipulate them, talk about her past as if it were trivial, and constantly chase novelty. On the surface, these behaviors look separate, but when you step back, you see they are all pieces of the same puzzle: a lifestyle, a mindset, a cycle that reinforces itself. Here is the truth many men avoid facing. Love by itself is not powerful enough to break such a pattern. You may believe you'll be the exception, that your presence, your devotion, your sincerity will change her. But unless she decides to confront herself, unless she chooses to break her own cycle, nothing you do will matter. Your effort will hit against walls built long before you arrived. Being chosen by her may give you the illusion that you are special. But in reality, you are not the exception. You are simply the continuation of a story that has been told before. The belief that you can change the ending is not strength. It is self-deception. This is the awakening you must face. You cannot break a pattern that has become a lifestyle. You can only decide not to step into it. And while that truth may sting, it is also the key to your freedom. Real strength is not about fighting battles you cannot win. Real strength is about walking away when the cycle is clear. So ask yourself, do you want to be just another chapter in her history, destined to end the same way as the rest? Or do you want to become the author of your own story? The one who chooses a different path instead of repeating someone else's script. If you choose to be the author, you reclaim your power. You no longer exhaust yourself trying to prove your worth in a game with fixed rules. Instead, you build a future that truly belongs to you, with someone who is capable of creating something lasting. The truth behind these 7 signs is not here to make you judge or condemn her. It exists to remind you that patterns always leave traces. They are not coincidences. They are the echoes of repeated choices. And once you see the full picture, you can no longer claim you didn't know. You know. The only question is whether you are willing to accept it. And in the end, the choice will always be yours. Will you step into her cycle, or will you be the man who dares to write his own? The lesson in your choice. Look at the sun. It does not need praise, approval, or recognition to keep shining. It shines because that is its nature. Love, value, and the essence of a man must be the same. You cannot live off the recognition of others, especially in relationships that only lead you to lose yourself. The only thing that can protect you from cycles of pain is your standards. Standards are not rigidity. They are boundaries that safeguard your worth and your peace. Without them, you are easily pulled into someone else's game, accepting whatever they offer, and slowly losing yourself without even realizing it. Here lies the awakening. True freedom begins the moment you choose yourself. When you stop chasing recognition, when you stop trying to prove you deserve someone's love, you finally discover strength. You are no longer controlled by unstable emotions. no longer defined by the attention or approval of others. And now comes the question you must answer honestly. Will you live to be validated by others? Or will you live as proof of your own true value? One path leads to dependence, to fear of losing attention. The other path leads to freedom, peace, and real love. The final choice rests in your hands. You can keep following the same cycle, becoming just another chapter in someone else's story. Or you can stop, choose yourself, and begin writing a new story, one where you are the author, not a supporting role. Share your experiences, because what you've lived through might help another man avoid the same mistakes. And if you want to keep uncovering hidden truths, make sure you subscribe. Don't miss what comes next. Your freedom and your future are worth protecting.